Would like to call to order the April 19th, 2021 Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Welcome everyone. It's good to have you with us this evening. For those of you who might be online or on channel 22, we are meeting in person live tonight. We have several different methods for the public to participate in our public comments. Just to kind of go over the different options, we are being broadcast live on channel 22. We're also on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Cabarrus County, as well as the Cabarrus County webpage. You can also call in by telephone at 704-920-2023, and your PIN number will be 1234. You may also use that same call-in number if you would like to speak during informal public comments, as well as we have the regular meeting chambers set up for public comments there as well. That number, once again, if you would like to call in for public comments, is 704-920-2023, and your PIN number will be 1234. We are very happy to have Lainey Lancaster with us tonight. She is the Youth Commissioner from Mount Pleasant High School. So we're delighted to have you join us at our second in-person meeting in a year, so welcome. First up is the approval or correction of our minutes, and you all have a copy of those before you. So do I hear a motion to approve or correct the minutes as presented?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we move to the approval of the agenda. You also all have a copy of that before you. Do I hear a motion to approve the meeting agenda, including the changes on page 43? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we are delighted to have Myra Bumgarner with us from Active Living and Parks virtually tonight to talk with us about Older Americans Month Proclamation. Welcome, Myra.
Welcome. Thank you. So good to see you. Nice to be here with you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just barely, but that might be on our end.
Okay. Well, you know, I don't have any problem turning the volume up. So
okay. They just turned you up here, so we're good.
Okay, so I need to not shout at you, okay? It's my privilege to bring before you the proclamation of Older Americans Month 2021. Whereas Cabarrus County includes a growing number of older Americans who have built resilience and strength over their lives through successes and difficulties. And whereas Cabarrus County benefits when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are included and encouraged to share their successes and stories of resilience. And whereas Cabarrus County Senior Centers Advisory Council recognizes our need to nurture ourselves, reinforce our strength, and continue to thrive in times of both joy and difficulty. And whereas Cabarrus County can foster communities of strength by creating opportunities to share stories and learn from each other, engaging older adults through education, recreation, and service, and encouraging people of all ages to celebrate connections and resilience. Now, therefore, the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim May 2021 to be Older America's Month. We urge every resident to recognize older adults and the people who support them as essential contributors to the strength of our community.
Great.
And if I could, real quick, I just wanted to take just a couple more minutes to reassure folks that safety has and continues to be the top priority for the Senior Center. Activity of the staff just astonishes me. They have come up with so many fun activities for us to participate in, but yet stay safe. Things like car bingo, toot your horn when you get bingo, drive through goodie bags that are loaded with activities, socially distanced scavenger hunt. The month will end with a great, beautiful lanterns on the lake out at Frank Liss. So I just want to encourage all of Cabarrus County older Americans to get out and participate and enjoy the month of May. Thank you, guys, and thanks for all you do for us.
Thank you, Myra. We appreciate you bringing that to us tonight. Do I hear a motion at this time that we adopt the proclamation declaring Older Americans Month as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes, and we are looking forward to a kickoff for the senior games tomorrow, I think.
See you there.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we move now to a recognition of our 2021 first quarter Super Cabco employees, and we are happy to have Debbie Brannon virtually to make that presentation. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Super Cabco is a peer-to-peer recognition program that offers Cabarrus County employees a way to express appreciation and recognize a peer as a Super Cabco. The vision of the Super Cabco program is a workplace where employees thrive and connect with the goals and purpose of Cabarrus County government. The goals are to promote workplace significance, where employees celebrate accomplishments daily, create connections where employees have a sense of belonging at Cabarrus County, foster employee growth, where employees collaborate and bond over shared experiences, recognize contributions so employees understand how their daily work helps America thrive here. As part of this program, employees are immediately emailed a Super C with a comment of appreciation from the submitter. Quarterly, Super Cabcos receive a Super Cabco pin and a certificate of recognition signed by county management, and recognition at the Board of Commissioners meeting, which is what we're doing here today. In the first quarter of 2021, 230 employees received moments of encouragement and recognition from a peer. A list of the Super C recipients is included in the agenda packet, and I would like to give you a few examples of the recognitions given this quarter. In January, Allison White, a Cabarrus County Library Assistant, was recognized by a peer. She received a Super C with a comment. I appreciate Allison being willing to work extra hours to cover a short on Saturday. I'm sure Allison didn't expect recognition for working extra on a Saturday, but I am sure recognition of this sacrifice was a pleasant surprise and appreciated by her. In February, Benny Davis, a Cabarrus County custodian, received a Super C with a comment. Benny has been very beneficial in helping get everything set up for the AARP tax aid program. Benny probably just thought he was doing his job, but receiving a Super C reminded him that his job is also helping senior citizens get assistance with tax preparation. And in March, Maureen Ryan, a Cabarrus County income maintenance caseworker, received a Super C with the comment, "Marie stepped outside of her comfort zone recently to tackle a task, and I am so proud of her." This recognition let Marie know someone noticed and appreciated she stretched herself to complete her assignment, encouraging her growth as a Cabarrus County employee. Receiving a Super C with a specific, timely, and meaningful thank you can truly make a difference in an employee's day. Recognition and appreciation of a job well done creates workplace significance, a sense of belonging, and a connection to the purpose of the county government. Commissioners, tonight we are presenting you with a Super C pin to thank you for contributing your time and leadership to Cabarrus County. I hope you'll wear it proudly to represent your hard work and the work of all Super Cabco employees. To those who took a minute to send a Super C this quarter, and to those who received a Super C in appreciation for a job well done, congratulations and thank you to all our Super Cabcos.
Thank you, Debbie. We appreciate you bringing that to us. And as I look down that list of 230 some folks that were recognized, I recognize a lot of those names. So it really is wonderful that we're able to have an opportunity to say thank you to all of you that go above and beyond every single day, and especially those that are being singled out for recognition in this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we get an opportunity to recognize another person that has done a wonderful job in Cabarrus County, and I'll turn the floor over to County Manager Mike Downs for a retirement recognition.
Well, it gives me great pleasure to talk a little bit about Robbie Ferg. Robbie will receive his formal recognition through NC State University, but Robbie has been such an excellent addition to county staff and representative of Cabarrus County as well as NC State and the state of North Carolina, that we wanted to at least give him some local recognition as well. And so we'll just start off. Robbie started his career in 1991. And from 91 to 95, Robbie served as the school-age child care systems manager for Cabarrus County. So he started his career here. And then in 1995, he moved to Stanley County for 5 years through the year 2000 as the Stanley County 4-H agent. From 2000 to 2003, to Rowan County 4-H agent, and from 2003 to 2009, Mecklenburg County 4-H agent, and then and then from 2009 to 2013, he was the Mecklenburg County Extension Director and 4-H agent, and then in 2013, we were lucky to get him to come back home to Cabarrus County, and from 2013 to 2021, Robbie has served as the Cooperative Extension Director. I think it was only fitting that he started his career here. He grew up here in Cabarrus and participated in the extension programs. Then he started his career here, and now he's ending his career with almost 30 years of service to the Cooperative Extension Service throughout the state. He not only has served as a representative of Cooperative Extension, but he's served as a fantastic extension of county employees as well. As you engaged in your strategic planning process a year or two ago, Robbie was the lead on the staff that went out to the public and pulled back that information and pulled it out of our citizens and then brought it back and presented to you. So he's worked very hard doing that, and that was well above. That was a volunteer service that he did. That's way out of his job description, but we sure do appreciate that he did that. He's been very involved in the Cabarrus County Fair, and his employees have been out there with those booths that have worked throughout the years there. Robbie is an active participant with the Smart Start program, and not just in Cabarrus County, but he's served in other counties as well. And he's served as the chair here, and also has served in another county as the chair. And just most recently, he was awarded the Ashley O. Thrift Award, or Volunteer Award, which is the highest award that we can give out here, as well as regionally and statewide. And so that was exciting that we were able to present him here with that award, and then also through the Partnership for Children. So again, we would typically, the state would do this, but we wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to hear his good contributions to the county, that the public had the opportunity to hear that, and then also you as a board and we as a staff can officially congratulate Robbie on a fantastic career and wish him luck. So I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, and I think Commissioner Honeycutt has a presentation. I will say the standard words that I normally say is it really upsets me when I see people retiring who are so much younger than me. I just don't think it's right, but.
I would say I've had the opportunity to serve on the Cooperative Extension Advisory Council under Robbie, and his passion, commitment, and dedication inspires our board. And I'm sure all of the staff and people who are involved, and we are going to miss you. And I do agree with him. I don't know, your 30 years, you must have had some work done or something, because you look too good. So enjoy retirement, and wherever you go next, we'll be very fortunate to have your drive with them and passion.
Thank you very much.
And one thing I did forget to add is that during his time with the extension, he's also went out and got some extracurricular certifications. Now he is a certified facilitator now, and has actually done that for a couple of other counties and their board of commissioners as they work through their retreats. So don't go far away. Yeah,
That's right.
We have retreats every year, so we may be pulling you back in here for some facilitation. So.
Well, thank you all very much. I mean, it has been a pleasure working here in Cabarrus County. Mike mentioned I got to start my career here in '91, and it was only fitting to be able to wrap my career up here as well. Born and raised here as a citizen, I plan to stay here for quite some time. So even though I'm no longer, for the first time in almost 30 years, a government tax-paid employee, I am a normal citizen again soon, and all the things that come with that excitement I get to participate in. And so I'm just thankful for the support of the county management here and the administrative team for extension, and for myself and my role as the county director, and for the Board of Commissioners for your support through our budget process, through the things that we've worked through, and your support of the ag community and that partnership that we have with NC State. I've worked in 4 different counties, and this county by far has that great support. And I know it's a two-way street and a great relationship, but I am very thankful for what happens here with that support with Extension, and I look forward to seeing that grow and continue in the future. So thank you all very much.
Great.
And I will be 50 years old next week, so I will be 50, old enough to retire. I'm not breaking any rules.
I was just going to say, I'm astonished to learn that you volunteered to do that strategic planning session with the 5 commissioners. That had to be the low light of your career.
Well, and immediately following that was COVID, right? So there you go.
And truthfully, I didn't remember having met you prior to that, but we did that work, and you did a phenomenal job of getting us to think about things in a way that we hadn't thought of, and collaborate with each other to come up with things. And so you really did do a tremendous job, but I can't believe you volunteered for that.
Well, it's sort of, kind of.
You know, when Mike asks, you answer. It was a pleasure. It really, really was.
You did a phenomenal job.
So thank you all very much.
Yes, well, thank you, and it's been my pleasure to work with Robbie. Under Robbie, as a board member at the Cabarrus Partnership for Children and a number of other areas, and I've had an opportunity to meet his family at different 4-H events, and the one thing that is the best about extension events is they usually involve food, and sometimes homemade ice cream. And all kind of good stuff, but so I'll give you all the credit for that. But,
Well, there you go. I'll take it. Sure.
And we certainly, as we travel about the state to different events, it is not uncommon for somebody to come up and say, do you know Robbie Furr? Isn't he from your county? So he is known statewide. So we certainly appreciate everything that you've done for Cabarrus County as in being involved in government and as a citizen, and we look forward to that continuing into the future. So best wishes in whatever you decide to do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I will give my coveted seat away to someone else who may want to come and sit in here for the rest of this exciting meeting today. Thank you.
That's right. Okay, next up we have, we're happy to have Sharon Reese with us virtually for Administrative Professionals Day proclamation, and then I think she has an additional one as well. Welcome.
I do. Good evening, everyone. Proclamation, Administrative Professionals Day. Whereas Administrative Professionals Day highlights the major contributions of administrative professionals to business and government, and whereas administrative professionals serve as vital information hubs in the modern office, managing information, answering calls, sorting, scanning, distributing vital documents and mail, organizing the office, and mastering office technology. And whereas administrative professionals make vital contributions to today's team-oriented work environment and are key frontline public relations ambassadors for their organizations, providing friendly, efficient customer services. And whereas Administrative Professionals Day is sponsored by the International Association of Administrative Professionals and is celebrated worldwide, bringing together millions of people for various community events, educational seminars, and individual corporate activities. Now be it proclaimed that the Cabarrus Board of County Commissioners for Cabarrus County, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim April 21st, 2021 as Administrative Professionals Day, adopted this 19th day of April, 2021.
Thank you, Sharon. Commissioners, do I hear a motion that we adopt this proclamation as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And that motion passes. And Sharon has another proclamation for us for Foster Care Appreciation Month.
Yes, this one is very near and dear to my heart. Proclamation Foster Care Appreciation Month, May 2021. Whereas Cabarrus County joins the nation in recognizing the month of May as National Foster Family Appreciation Month, honoring foster parents who are true champions for the children in their care and who help to ensure their brightest possible futures. And whereas children are key to our community's future success, prosperity, and quality of life. And whereas children have a right to thrive, learn, grow in a safe and loving environment. And whereas foster parents, including kinship caregivers, provide the love, safety, and stability that children need in order to overcome past traumatic experiences. And whereas Cabarrus County foster parents and other caregivers are caring for and nurturing more than 145 children and youth currently in foster care today. And whereas Cabarrus County foster parents are helping birth families heal and thrive so children can be safely reunited and reach their full potential. And whereas Cabarrus County foster parents help children transition from foster care to permanent homes through adoption or guardianship when they can't be reunified with their parents. And whereas our community must come together to recognize the important role foster parents and kinship providers play in caring for abused and neglected children, supporting family reunification, and building strong communities. And whereas there is always a need for more foster parents in order to ensure children and youth with complex needs have a safe, stable home in their community and siblings can live together. And whereas through partnerships with families, child welfare, public and private agencies, there is a collaborative effort to ensure that children are supported and cared for. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Commissioners of Cabarrus County, do hereby proclaim May 2021 as Foster Care Appreciation Month in Cabarrus County and urge all citizens to engage in activities that strengthen families and communities to provide the optimal environment for children to learn, grow, and thrive.
Thank you, Sharon. Do I hear a motion that we adopt this proclamation as presented?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? I'll just add a couple comments. Foster parents are truly some of the most wonderful people in our community. And I think Sharon did an excellent job through the words in that proclamation of talking about the many different situations that families find themselves in. And these are the angels, along with our folks at our human services, our child welfare staff that help to coordinate this. And as she said, there's always a need for additional foster families. It is from the conversations that I've had with folks that are involved in that program, it is tremendously rewarding, and you truly are helping someone that doesn't have the ability to do those things for themselves, and it makes a tremendous positive impact on their lives. So I can think of nothing more rewarding. So thank you so much for bringing this to us. Are there any other comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Thank you again, Sharon. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and next up is item C6, and we are happy to have Jimmy Lentz with us virtually to bring a proclamation for Cabarrus County Emergency Services Week.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. It's always my honor to come before you in the recognition of EMS Week, and obviously with the events over the last 14 months makes this one a little extra special. EMS Week this year will actually be the week of May 17th, which is the week of the May meeting, so we wanted to come before you and have everything in place when May 17th rolled around. So whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services teams consist of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others. And whereas the members of the emergency medical services team, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas Americans benefit daily from the knowledge and skills of these highly trained individuals. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. And now, therefore, it be resolved that you, the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through the 21st of 2021 as Cabarrus County Emergency Medical Services Week.
Thank you, Jimmy. Commissioners, do I hear a motion to adopt Cabarrus County Emergency Services Week proclamation? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I hate to be the only one talking on all of these proclamations, but I tell you, you go through your entire life and you hope that you never need to call on these guys for help. And I have experienced multiple times in the past couple years with my parents who had some issues and some illnesses, and so there comes a time when you say, gosh, that's the only person you can call on when you need help. And it is just amazing how not only knowledgeable and professional they are, but compassion is an important part of it. And so when you find somebody in a position that may be uncomfortable or embarrassing to them, they do an excellent job of putting not only the patient but the family members at ease, and it really, really makes you feel good, and we sincerely appreciate that, Jimmy, and hope you'll take that back to all your folks, just that we recognize how important that is. Are there any other discussion? Now, Jimmy said something, but he was muted.
I'm sorry, I was going to say certainly forward it to those with the service, and I certainly appreciate the kind words.
Absolutely. Okay, any other comments or discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no, and that motion passes unanimously. We are happy to have Kelly Sifford with us in person, live, for a proclamation about Fair Housing Month.
Thank you. Whereas April is the National Fair Housing Month, and April 11th, 2021 marks the 53rd anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act, Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, which enunciates a national policy of fair housing without regard to race, color, religion, sex, familial status, handicap, and national origin, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all. Whereas Cabarrus County is committed to highlight the Fair Housing Act by continuing to address discrimination in our community, to support programs that will educate the public about the right to equal housing opportunities, and the plan to partnership efforts with the other organizations to help assure everyone of their right to fair housing. And whereas Cabarrus County commits to providing equal services without discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, handicap, sexual orientation, gender identity, and national origin. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Cabarrus Board of Commissioners of Cabarrus County, North Carolina, do hereby resolve that April 2021, being Fair Housing Month, begins a year-long commemoration of the Fair Housing Act in Cabarrus County, and urge all citizens to wholeheartedly recognize this celebration throughout the year.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, do I hear a motion to approve the proclamation for Fair Housing Month as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you.
And thank you. And very quickly, we did do a TikTok challenge for students this time. We decided to reach out a different direction. We worked with Concord and Kannapolis, and we'll be announcing the winner of that contest Thursday. So we'll get that information to you so you can see those videos. They're really neat.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next up, and I'm really going to have a hard time not making a comment about this one, Internal Audit Awareness Month, which is very exciting. And so we are happy to have Elizabeth Landrum with us for that presentation. Welcome,
Good
Elizabeth.
evening.
Please
Thank you.
excuse my comments.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you for letting me take the time to help us recognize May 2021 as Internal Audit Awareness Month. So, whereas internal auditing is a vital part of strengthening organizations and protecting stakeholders of both the public and private sectors, and whereas internal auditing helps identify and manage the organization's risks, ensure policies, procedures, and controls are in place and working appropriately, and whereas internal auditing is an increasingly sophisticated and complex activity requiring special knowledge, training, education, And whereas internal auditing is an established profession led by the Institute of Internal Auditors with a globally recognized code of ethics and international standards for the professional practice of internal auditing. And whereas the contribution of internal auditors to the success of organizations and the global economy at large deserves our recognition and commendations. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Commissioners for Cabarrus County, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2021 as International Internal Audit Awareness Month, and hereby extend greetings and best wishes to all observing International Internal Audit Awareness Month, and invite the citizens of Cabarrus County to join in recognizing professional internal auditors for their contribution.
Great, thank you very much. Do I hear a motion that we adopt this resolution for Internal Audit Awareness Month? Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I did say that that was very exciting sounding, but it is extremely important that particularly with taxpayer resources and money that we deal with, that we have these folks in place to make sure that things are the way that they should be, and we appreciate them. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a proclamation declaring North Carolina 811 Safe Digging Month. That is just slightly more exciting than internal audits. So I will read that proclamation. North Carolina 811 Safe Digging Month Proclamation. Whereas as utility owners, excavators, designers, and homeowners work to keep pace with North Carolina's economic development, it is important to minimize damages to underground utility lines, danger to workers and the general public, environmental impact, and loss of utility services to the citizens of North Carolina. And whereas North Carolina 811, a utility service notification center and leader in education, celebrates its 43rd year of continuous service to the state, is key to preventing injuries and damages when excavating. And whereas this unique service provides easy one-call notification about construction and excavation projects that may endanger workers and jeopardize utility lines while promoting workplace and public safety, reducing underground utility damage, minimizing utility service interruptions, and protecting the environment. And whereas this vital service, which began in 1978, serves the citizens of North Carolina from the mountains to the coast, educates stakeholders about the need for excavation safety, whether the project is as small as planting a tree to designing and beginning construction on a new interstate. And whereas in 2020, the North Carolina One Call system received 2.1 million notification requests and transmitted over 12.2 million requests, providing protection to utility companies' infrastructure, their employees, excavators, and customers. Now therefore be it resolved that the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of April 2021 as North Carolina 811 Safe Digging Month to encourage all excavators and homeowners of Cabarrus County to contact 811 either by dialing 811 or contacting NC 811 via the webpage of nc811.org at least 3 working days prior to digging in order to know what's below, avoid injury, protect the environment, prevent millions of dollars in damages, and to remind excavators that 3 working days' notice is the law for safe digging is no accident, and that more information can be obtained by visiting www.nc811.org. So, Commissioners, do I hear a motion that we adopt this proclamation as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No, but you mentioned you didn't think this was all that exciting, but if, try hitting a fiber optic line without having called, then you got all the excitement you want.
Absolutely, I am quite sure. Not to mention gas lines. Okay, any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And next, we move now to informal public comments. As I stated at the beginning of the meeting, for public comments, folks can email their name, address, and telephone number to publiccomment@cabarruscounty.us. You may also use the conference call number, which is 704-920-2023, and use the PIN number 1234. So hopefully anybody that wants to participate in public comments has had an opportunity to do that, or they did it while I was talking long about how to do it. But at this time, I will call on our clerk, Lauren Linker, to see if there are any emails, phone calls, or if there is anyone in the council chambers to make public comments.
There is no one on the phone. We have not received any emails, and there's no one currently in the chamber to speak.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, that since we have no one on hand for informal public comments, we will move on to our next item. Should someone arise, we will probably make exceptions and allow them to speak if that should come up. Next up is our consent agenda, and you all have a list of those items before you. For benefit of the public, all of the items that are on our consent agenda are ones that we have discussed at length at our work session 2 weeks ago, which we do that, which that is a televised meeting as well. That gives the public plenty of opportunities during the 2 weeks between our work session and our regular meeting to submit comments, ask questions, or to be at the meeting if there's something about those that they want to discuss. So do I hear a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And that motion passes. And we move now to new business. First up is an economic development investment project, Spring. We have advertised a public hearing for this project, which I should have included in my comments earlier. Anyone that wishes to participate in comments on that public hearing can follow the same directions as before. They can email at publiccomment@cabarruscounty.us. They may also call in at 704-920-2023, and we are happy to have Samantha Grass with us to talk about this project as we wait to see if anyone chooses to be involved in the public hearing.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Samantha Grass, Recruitment Project Manager with Cabarrus Economic Development. Thank you so much for allowing us to join you this evening and present Project Spring. Project Spring is considering constructing a total of 4 small bay industrial spec buildings at 560 Pitt School Road in Concord. This professional park will be designed to meet the needs of small to medium-sized businesses and will be a business incubator for growing businesses here in Cabarrus. It will be built to attract tenants ranging from 2,000 to 12,000 square feet. In Phase 1, buildings A, B, and C will be constructed and total 72,900 square feet. Construction for Phase 1 is planned to start this summer, and all 3 buildings are planned to be completed in March, April of 2022. Estimated investment for Phase 1, the first 3 buildings, is $9.5 million. Phase 2 will include Building D, a 46,500 square foot industrial building. Upon reaching 70% occupancy in Phase 1, construction for the last building will begin. Estimated construction start date is late 2022 for Building D and construction completion in mid to late 2023. Estimated investment for Phase 2 is $3.5 million. So total for that project, projected investment for both phases and all buildings is $13 million, and total square footage for all 4 buildings is 119,400 square feet. Their investment does exceed the minimum requirements of the Economic Development Grant for industrial spec developments. The Cabarrus County grant analysis is based on that estimated $13 million projected investment. We are asking for your consideration of a 3-year, 85% economic development grant for both phases. The estimated grant for the 3-year term is $245,310. During that same grant term, the county would net over $43,000. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Samantha, if
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not mistaken, this is an area where we have a need on the, as far as the size
Yes,
and
certainly. And there's,
inventory.
yes, and there's a lack of product in that size range to accommodate request companies needing that size square footage for industrial space. So we are certainly excited to see this come online soon.
Anybody else have questions for Samantha? We hear repeatedly about clients that want buildings that are ready to go, so they can begin business immediately. So we're lucky to have this opportunity, I think.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, if there are no other questions, at this time, I will open the public hearing and invite anybody, either in person or by email, or from the meeting chambers, that would like to speak in regards to this project. And I will first call on our clerk, Lauren Linker, to see if she has received any emails or calls.
I have no emails, and there's no one on the line, and the people that are in there do not wish to speak.
Okay, and I'm not sure if Lauren has a mic, so whether everyone else could hear that, but she says there are no emails, there have been no calls, and there is no one in chambers wishing to speak. So at this time, I will close the public hearing. And commissioners, what would be your pleasure on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve an economic development agreement, 3 years, 85%, between Project Spring and Cabarrus County, and to authorize the county manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the board, subject to review or revision by the county attorney.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you. Okay, next up is item G2 from EMS, renewal of non-emergency transport franchise agreement with American Transmed. We will also have a public hearing on this item. Same opportunities to participate, as I have mentioned several other times. And Jimmy Lentz, who is still with us virtually, did you have anything that you wanted to say about that before we open the public hearing?
No, thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity, but we come before you tonight to start the process to renew the franchise agreement with American Transmed for the non-emergency medical transport within the county. Transmed has been operating under a franchise agreement with the county since 2015. The current agreement was a 3-year agreement that expires the end of June of 21, and we are looking to renew that to another 3-year agreement. So I will go ahead and read the franchise agreement, and then you assume we'll have the public hearing, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Whereas Cabarrus County relates the provision of vehicles for hire in Article 82 of the Cabarrus County Code of Ordinances and North Carolina General Statute 153A-250, including franchises for non-emergency ambulance services. And whereas those services have been provided by American Transmed according to the standards defined in Section 82-52 of the ordinance. And whereas the Board of Commissioners have held a hearing as required of Section 82-53 of the ordinance. And whereas based on information submitted by American Transmed and information submitted at the hearing, the Board of Commissioners made the following findings. A, the public necessity and convenience requires the proposed ambulance service. B, each such ambulance and its required equipment have been certified by the state as acceptable for the type of franchise requested. C, American Transmed and its officers are partners or responsible persons to conduct or work in the proposed business. D, only duly certified emergency medical technicians are employed as operators and attendants by American Transmed for the non-emergency service franchise. E, all other requirements of Article 82 and other applicable laws and ordinances have been met. Now, therefore, the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners resolves that 1, the Board of Commissioners grants a franchise agreement to American Transmed for the operation of non-emergency ambulance services for the period of July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024. The terms of this franchise shall include the following. The geographical boundary for this franchise shall be the entirety of the county. Any change in ownership or management of American Transmed shall terminate the franchise and shall require a new application and new franchise award. The franchise may not be sold, assigned, mortgaged, or otherwise transferred without the approval of the county and a finding of conformance with all requirements of Article 82. The terms of Section 82-57 of the ordinance shall be included in the franchise agreement as they relate to termination, suspension, or revocation. The Board of Commissioners authorize county manager to negotiate and execute the franchise agreement with American Transmed, not inconsistent with this ordinance, after drafting and review of the county attorney. Approved after readings in 2 consecutive regular meetings of the Board of Commissioners on April 19, 2021 and May 17, 2021, pursuant North Carolina General Statute 153A-46.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy, for that. And at this time, we will open the public hearing and invite anybody that would like to speak on this matter to do so in one of the prescribed methods that we've discussed. And once again, I will call on our clerk, Lauren Linker, for a report if we have anyone wishing to participate in the public hearing. Thank you. No emails, no phone calls, and no one in the chambers that wish to participate. So at this time, I will close the public hearing. And thank you all. This does not require a vote. I think we will be voting on this probably next month, which allows even more time for public input. And so we move now to item G3 from Infrastructure and Asset Management, Courthouse Expansion Public Art Update, and we are happy to have Kyle Billifer with us for that item.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Wanted to give you an update on the public art project. And Lauren, if you can bring up that agenda item, it's got some attachments to go through. We have had 2 meetings with the Public Art Committee group that we formed, and thank you to Commissioner Hsu and Commissioner Kiger for being on both of those meetings. I'm not sure that I've shared the members of that committee, so I wanted to make sure that I gave a chance to let you all know who's on that committee as we go through this. Jody Driggs, who's with Silling Architects, that's the design team. Sarah Gay with the Clearwater Art Studio Coordinator for the City of Concord. Noel Rhodes Scott with the Cabarrus Arts Council. Of course, Commissioner Kiger and Commissioner Shu. Myself, Judge Wilhelm, who's our district court judge, and Betty Stocks, who is a former Concord Assistant Police Chief and coordinator of the Cabarrus Juneteenth Festival. So those are the folks that make up the committee. County Manager Downs is on there also, but he does not have voting capabilities, so he just stays on our virtual meetings and kind of makes sure that he approves of the way that they're going and the things that we're discussing. Yeah, keep me in line probably more than anybody. So we've spent a lot of time. We've gone through 45 different links and websites of comparable art for the actual volume that this is taking up. And some of the attachments, if you've looked at this prior to the meeting, some of the attachments and pictures in this agenda item show the actual volume that artwork will have to take up in that public lobby as you come in. And the board, the committee spent a lot of time going to these different sites, looking at this different artwork, whether it was in comparable buildings such as justice centers and governmental centers, or hospitals, a lot of children's museums, things like that, looking at that art and trying to get an idea of what type of texture, material we would want in there. We also obviously have to come up with an RFQ for this. So this is what the group has spent a lot of time, and special thanks to Sarah Gay, again, with the City of Concord, because she's done a lot of these open calls or RFQ for public art, which we have not done any, myself especially, but I don't even believe the county has done any. So this is kind of our first time stepping into this. So we've spent a lot of time on the process, because the RFQ will be like an RFQ that we put out for a design team or for a construction manager at risk. So what we've planned on doing is doing an open call RFQ, which means we'll post it on a number of websites. It'll be open to any artist anywhere throughout the nation. We're planning, the group has decided to go with 5 finalists. So no matter how many submissions that we get, we would end up with 5 finalists. Of those 5, we will choose to take proposals from 3 of those finalists. And in the art world, when you're procuring art and advertising for art, you pay for those proposals. So we looked at a lot of what different government entities were paying for those proposals, and we settled on, the committee's recommendation was $2,500 per proposal. That basically allows the artist to take the time to design conceptually what they're imagining for this space, okay? There's obviously a lot of documentation that we have to give them so they understand what type of space we're trying to fill. So again, that's what a lot of the images that are attached as agenda items show. Pictures of the location, volume of the location, and also in the RFQ, we have to provide narratives, not just of what the building does, and that narrative was written by Judge Wilhelm, meaning who goes in the building, how many people a year, what are they there for, and that type of narrative, but also the narrative that we want the art to speak to or represent. So the committee in our first meeting spent time coming up with some different key words for a narrative, and we'll shape this into an RFQ that is the advertisement. But I wanted to share a few of those words that came from the group, and this was, all the different group was on there saying words. So just bear with me as I read through some of these words that will make up the narrative for the public art. Calming, inclusion, transparent, legal, equity and equality, balance, fairness, textured, weaving together public transparency and judicial processes, human aspect, justice and fairness. And that is just a couple that came off. There's about 35 that we have to sculpt into a creative narrative. So that RFQ, or that advertisement for artists, will provide not just what we're looking at for the artistic narrative, but also a narrative of the building, how it came about and what it does. We will then put that out there, and we're working with ITS to put together a SharePoint site for all these submissions to come in. Because imagine if you were asking for artists to submit RFQ submittals, they're obviously going to come with a lot of pictures, which means a lot of, I guess, volume coming in. So Todd has been working to try to set up a site for us so that the committee can review these and go through these. So the RFQ is in the process of being written. And I wanted to give you an update on that. I'm not planning on bringing the RFQ in front of the board before we post it, unless you all advise that you would like me to do that, and I gladly can. I do want to bring up that it is time to discuss the budget for the artwork, and that was obviously a lot of our time spent on these committee meetings was thinking about the budget. So if you look at the total cost of the new building, you're roughly in the $91 million area. If you combined the 1975 renovations and the new building, which are going to be one building after this is done, that's about $109 million. Based on the art experts we have on the committee, they felt that based on the volume we have and the type of structure we have and the type of artwork that we are looking for, we are looking in the price range of $250,000 to $350,000 for a piece of art. And that does not include the $7,500 I spoke about for the 3 proposals from the artists. So I come in front of the board to ask for some guidance or approval on moving forward with that kind of budget for that artwork and give you time to be thinking about that. Obviously, it would have to come in front of the board again because it would be a budget amendment from another account in our budget ordinance to bring that in. And we have several different funds that we could take that from. But I did want to point out that if you look at those figures, that's 0.38% of the total construction cost. The county does not have a public art policy. We've never had a need for one that I'm aware of, at least in the buildings that we've created so far. There are some other counties, larger counties in the state that do have them. And you typically see it's Wake and Mecklenburg, and their percentage for new buildings is 1% of the construction cost. That's not the soft cost, meaning not design or anything, just the construction cost. So what we'd be looking at, that $350,000 plus 7,500, that represents about 0.38%. And I will leave it up to any questions or comments, because again, this is our first time in this, and I've had a lot of discussions inside the committee and outside the committee. I've done a lot of research on many RFQs that are put out there by other entities. Obviously, there are a lot of entities around us that do a lot of public art projects. It might just be a sculpture right out by the parking deck, or it might be something in the building. Not all of them are as grand as what we're talking about.
Did we have any amount specifically designated in the budget for art?
No, when we went through the budget process, which this was years ago when we put this together, we put a certain amount in contingency, and we also put a certain amount in what we called utilities, legal fees, and miscellaneous, and that's where we knew that something like this would come from it. But until we could design and actually know how big the space was, we weren't sure what we could do.
And both of you guys on that committee feel good about that amount. I feel good about that amount.
Well, I will say that I think we did meet virtually, and Kyle probably heard Lynn and I's jaw drop and hit the floor but the more you dig into it and you look at we're at 0.03 or 0.3 versus 1%, and if you take some time and visit some other public, if you're just going to do your business, you really don't pay. But if you start taking the time to look, it sort of changes your outlook, because you can then, and then you see the size and scope of what we were talking about doing. And then it started to make a lot more sense that we would have to do something. And Kyle's got some, and you've probably all looked at them, but the sheer mass and volume of the space that we're talking about in the lobby of the courthouse, it just, you just can't just leave it alone. So and I don't want to speak for Commissioner Shue, Maybe mine's the only jaw dropping, but I'm pretty sure I heard his too. But Kyle, the committee did a good job of talking through, and we looked at artwork, representative samples of things to do, and we saw things that, oh, that would be appropriate or nice, and we saw things, yeah, that's probably not gonna go in Cabarrus County, or that we don't particularly like. So we did fish through a lot of that, and it was time well spent, so.
There were some immediate, that's not going here. There's a lot of kinetic art out there that it moves. You can see a lot of it in Charlotte, and there was like a lot of moving pieces, and we were looking at a lot of those pieces, and I was like, we move on from those, because it became very troublesome to try to maintain that in that lobby with what that is. But that orange box there, if you can see that, that's the type of volume you're looking at filling up. And I don't mean every cubic foot of it, but that's kind of your sheer size.
So are we talking about one installation in that area, or are there other external or internal?
One installation. So this RFQ is for the public lobby art project. The other pieces I believe that the board might be aware of and that I've discussed before is the public plaza will have the ability to receive some artwork in the future, meaning I have electricity stubbed out there. I've got enough traffic rating to put a reasonable piece of artwork on there. And then obviously, as we move into the building, we will be using funds to refurbish, which I believe is the proper term, refurbish some of our judge portraits and probably have some other ones authorized. That is not in the dollar figure that I am discussing right now. And those will primarily go in courtrooms. And then we're also working with Judge Horton on what I would call a Cabarrus County Courthouse wall. So think more of kind of a signage, kind of the glass signage that comes off the wall and is held by pegs with different historical photos of all of our different courthouses and a narrative on them as you pass through a corridor to our clerk of courts. So I really wouldn't call that art. I'd call that a kind of a history wall of Cabarrus County courthouses.
Right.
And this does not mean that we can't accept other public art throughout that building as we move forward, whether it's granted to us or brought in. There will be places to put art. I just, right now, focusing on the steel coming out of the ground and making sure there's enough to support this piece versus where can we would put a portrait down the line. But yes, we have places in all of the courtrooms to be able to take some of that stuff.
Right.
Couple other things that we took into consideration when we were looking at these different things. And when we had our first meeting, we must have went through, seemed like it was forever, 100 or more. If
It's
you
52.
remember.
I counted them before I came in here.
It seemed like a
52.
lot. I guess, our narrator, she liked to talk. But anyway, we take in consideration a lot more than just a piece of art. You got to look at the ongoing maintenance, the operational costs, and the appeal to the public in general when they come into the courthouse lobby. And so there's a lot more to it than just a piece of metal or plastic or whatever it is. And up until I was on this committee, I'd never really paid much attention to lobby art. But it is sort of awakening when you go into the bigger hotels, and, we've all been in bigger hotels and places where they have lots of lobby art. But I didn't realize that they were quite that expensive. But maybe, Kyle, when you was talking about the other municipalities that have a 1% budget, maybe they were doing the grounds and the plazas and everything all together, instead of just a lobby art. And so that might be something we could take into consideration, because we will have a big enough area there for the plaza for some external art.
If you look at a lot of Mecklenburg, they have 2 or 3 pieces, and they incorporate a lot of it into their actual building now. Meaning on the faces of the building, precast, things like that. They embed different art in them. They're getting very creative with, it's just not things hanging on the wall or hanging from the ceiling.
Right. Well, overall, I was very pleased with the way it has been conducted, and of course, Kyle, as always, done an excellent job putting it all together. Thank you, Kyle.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Shu doesn't want to share it, but he now texts me pictures of random art pieces that he sees in different lobbies. It's our It's a thing we share
I don't
now.
think he looks at them, but.
Yeah, no, I do. That's not fair. I always
I'm
respond.
glad to hear that, because I thought I text him pictures of exterior facades of buildings in case it's material we want to use. So I'm glad to know somebody else
Yeah.
is doing
It's
that.
the new bond that holds us together.
Kyle, I just have one quick question.
Sure.
On the cost component, does that include the design costs as well?
Yeah, when you commission with Art, they get 350 and they're designing, building, and installing with a certain amount of involvement from our construction manager at risk. You won't bring in something that large and just be like, I'm here with the truck, can I install it? There's going to be a lot of coordination with our construction manager at risk. And in addition, our design team will have to go back and put some things in that ceiling to hold it. So that the structure is there, you can look across the street, it's physically there. Where it's going to tie in and how heavy, that's why we want to get moving with obviously we're ways away from receiving that art. The reason we want to get these proposals coming and get an artist under contract is so that we know what it's going to be made of, so we know where we have to have these tie points.
Okay, very good.
Did that correctly answer what you were looking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it sure did.
And certainly Mesa is used to being able to coordinate, and that's not going to be something that's out of their brand of experience.
Oh, no, I'm
It'll be
not
fine.
worried. The design team and the construction team have been involved in this process. We do not have somebody from Messer on the actual art committee, but we did from Silling. And one of their narratives was also written about why the exterior is the way it is in the courthouse. So a lot of the presentations that some of you sat through about how we ended up with a courthouse that looks the way it does, he has written that narrative that will also go into the RFQ. I'm hoping that the thought process thought process on an open call RFQ for an artist is to give them as much information so that if they're not living in North Carolina, they can still get a grasp for what we are. The only other thing that I did not mention is that we will allow virtual presentations for the finalists. That was a debate after, I believe, it might have been on a meeting after one of you got off, but it was a debate about interviewing the 5 finalists, and apparently there are entities that fly those finalists out. I informed them that we were a entity that would allow them to travel on their own or join us virtually.
So I take it from our 2 commissioners that serve on the committee that you don't feel like this could be handled like our pound cake baking contest for the county fair. A little more sophisticated.
Just a smidge.
I will trust your judgment. And so you are asking tonight for a motion to approve moving forward with this concept,
Yes,
correct?
I need to get the RFQ written, and I need that dollar value to be able to put in there. I will come back in front of the board for an actual budget amendment of that, but I do need an approval that you are okay with the things I read about, how many finalists, virtual interviews if they're unable to travel, how many finalists, paying for the finalist proposals, and that overall budget amount so I can get an RFQ put out there.
Okay, any other questions or comments, commissioners?
I see that the requested action just,
Receive input.
right, but it does not include a dollar amount. Does it
No.
need to include that dollar amount? If you're going for a budget amendment?
I can wait for the
Oh,
next meeting,
I'm
that's
sorry, I
fine.
misunderstood. I
Yeah.
thought you needed it tonight.
Well,
If you do, you just need to suspend the rules and give.
yes, I do need, yeah, I do need that.
Okay,
dollar.
that's what I thought.
And for clarification, that'd be $350,750. It's the $2,500 per, so. Yep, and that's correct, you got it right, in 500.
And we would not, we would not have to suspend the rules because we're not in work session. We're just in the wrong room. Yeah. Right.
So what was the number?
357, 500.
Okay, would one of the 2 commissioners serving on this committee be interested in bringing forward that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Cabarrus County Courthouse Expansion Public Art Committee's recommendations and approve the RFQ with a dollar amount to be considered not to exceed $357,500.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
That's correct. One piece going in the public lobby of the new courthouse. That's correct.
See, I think I just heard jaws drop again.
I think you're right.
I'm the only, I guess, one of the, not to beat a dead horse. I do remember, and this has been some years ago, I used to have to go to Iredell County to pull septic permits. And the building you had to go to was a courthouse that was built in the 1850s. And you go in that building, and of course you have utilitarian office cubicles down here, but you look up and around at the ornate detail and structure around this building. And you get a sense that in days gone by, the civic pride was astonishing of what they would build, because it was a, I can't remember if it was a federal courthouse or a state courthouse, but it was a courthouse. And so, and it's not that we're trying to build a monument, and everybody, that building will be here long after all of us are gone. But there is a certain level of, we just don't want to trip on the last 20 feet of the project. And it is massively expensive. It's tough to get your hands around art being that. Heck, it was tough for me to get my hands around paying for somebody to give me a proposal. I mean, and that's, but I'm not in the art world, and that's industry standard. I do live in a world where industry standard, there's a lot to it, and people color inside the lines, and you get called out if you don't. So if that's the way the industry standard works, which we've learned, we're proceeding that last mile to make sure that we've done it the right way, and we've got a building that this county's going to look at for 50-plus years. And that piece of art, it might be there 45 of the 50, or who knows? We don't know. Somebody else will decide that. But that brings me something we're all going to be proud of when it's all said and done.
I appreciate those comments, and I think that is a very productive way of looking at the process. And you could also make some comparisons to some of the buildings that we go in Washington, D.C. and look around and admire and feel proud of and appreciate without ever thinking about the fact that somewhere along the line somebody had to make a motion to cause that to happen, some elected body. So I think that's a good way to explain that. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And next up, Kyle also will update us on the Frank Lisk Park Barn Rebuild Project.
Thank you, and we also have Londa Strong, if she wants to interject anything. I'm sure she would like to as we kind of go through this. Want to provide the board with where we are on the barn rebuild project, including kind of our finalized schematic design, building systems narrative, and basic drawings, and that was attached in the agenda. Lauren, if you can just scroll to that. We'll start with the boring stuff first. So the second thing I mentioned was the building systems narrative. That's typically the part in this package that no one will read, and that explains what the building's going to be made of, how the HVAC system is going to work, and all that. And I'll leave those if anyone has any questions. But probably what everyone wants to look at are the images of where we landed. So as Lauren scrolls through, these are the different materials and layouts of the different areas. And these have all gone through the ALPS approval, and we actually do have another meeting this Friday to go through a couple minute details, nothing that'll change the blueprints, but if you can stop on that one, Lauren. So as we go through all these, it's the decision of what colors, what shade of wood, how are the panels going to go, horizontal or vertical, and all of that is to link to the former barn before it burned down. One of the things that the board challenged myself and the design team with was the silo. And when we originally started looking at the silo, one of the ideas that came up was we could house the elevator in the silo. Obviously, if you're going to pay for a silo, you want it to be able to provide a function, and that would be a function. However, the logistics of putting an elevator and all those controls in a silo and then having a catwalk from the silo to the barn and the space that would take up and all the elevations that you would need and type of, I'll call them moisture points that it can get into the building. It started to prove very challenging, not just engineering-wise, but cost-wise. And I was getting a little concerned that we were defeating the purpose. So the design team came up with some ideas, and they've seen this in some locations. It looks like a metal mesh. It's metal paneling. They make it in mesh. They make it in solid format. But it's a lot cheaper than building a silo. And you can also leave the top kind of an open and add a lighting component in that. Lauren, can you scroll down a little bit? So that kind of gives you an idea of what the final rendering would look like. And that's actually, that's already been changed because there's not as much glass on that anymore. So we've cut down on the amount of glass on that. But that is showing what right now we're moving forward with to move into our DD phase, or our actual, design drafting of putting this together. So I guess I would be looking for some inputs on how the board feels about that aesthetically before I start to talk about money or any particulars on the materials used. Okay. Yeah, going right into it.
And what is the function of that?
Okay, the function that silo provides, I would say there's probably two functions that it could provide if we designed it a certain way. There is an ability to take those panels and put whether it be the history of the barn or the history of the park, there is a way to display graphics and verbiage on some of those panels. So the panels that would be lower in elevation. So if instead of making a history wall inside the barn that explains the history of Franklis Park and as a working dairy farm and so on and so forth, we could put that out there on that metal paneling. The other ability of that silo would be that you can put some LED lighting in the top of that, and you could light that at certain times. Now, obviously, the park isn't open all the time after dark. I know that there are extended hours and certain times of the year, but it's not like you'd be looking for that at 10 o'clock at night while you're walking a trail trying to find your way back to the barn. So it's kind of the, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there, do they hear it? If you're lighting something and no one's there, does it prove beneficial? But it would be a focal point and a beacon showing the barn as the flagship of the park. So a flagship of our flagship park. So those would be the two things that silo could provide. And also a wayfinding. It will stand taller than the building. So if you're in another area of the park, you will see that silo. And of course, as we determined, as we went through our public surveys, the silo has a special meaning to folks. I mean, it showed up in a lot of the comments. That silo right there, the way that it's costed out in schematic, is about $240,000 right now, and that's without the lighting function. So I guess as we start to go into these prices, I would tell you that unless instructed otherwise by the county manager or the board, that the silo is going to be a part of is going to be an option, an alternate in the bidding, right off the top.
Just wanted to make sure, the current one, you could go up in and it's an observatory. This is not going, this is more.
Correct.
More ornamental.
And
so.
it should be noted that we actually had closed it down as an observatory because it wasn't legal to go upside it. More so on occupancy than, there were some structural issues and ADA issues in terms of the landings and the stairs that we could have fixed, but it basically got to the point where We had two different engineering evaluations done on it, and you would have had to have a park attendant or park ranger there all the time, making sure there was, I don't remember what the sheer number was, but it was 4.5 people or 5.5 people couldn't be in there at more than once. So no, it will have you will have not have an ability to climb that.
Yeah, and if so, it would have been more expensive because it would have most likely had to have the elevator to get up there just for ADA.
Yeah, and then you still would have had the occupancy issues.
Right.
So there was no clean way to do that liability-wise.
And did you say the cost on the lighting
Was not included in that $240,000.
and how much? Are you going to tell us that, or you
Uh,
keeping that from us?
No, I tend not to keep anything from you. That's part of the issue. No, we haven't designed the lighting component yet. So it would be, is it colored? Can I control it from my phone, or does it, there's a lot of specifics, but I don't think you're not looking at a $100,000 lighting system if that's what you're after. No, it'd be a lot less than that. I think in the $10,000-$20,000 area to provide that.
The material, sorry, Lynn.
Go ahead.
The material that it's made out of, what is its length of, I mean, how long is that product gonna be around, like, shelf life, I guess you could say?
We asked the same thing. They're telling us, the way that they told me is 25 to 30 without having to refurbish anything, and maybe having to go in there and clean it or something like that, but no more than that.
Okay, okay.
Kyle, you had mentioned that right off the bat, this would be an alternate or an option. Is that because of the budget of the barn is going to be excessive compared to what we got from the insurance company? Is that one of the reasons?
Yes, that would be an accurate statement, that the cost of rebuilding this barn will be excessive compared to what we've received from the insurance carrier. That is a correct statement. For
Wouldn't
building.
say excessive, it's just the replacement costs are gonna be more than what that.
I was just comparing it. Yes, the building costs, what the building costs. We've reviewed the costs. I've had an independent cost estimator look at it. And then same cost estimator we've used for the parking deck and a couple other projects. And then I also had the design team do it. So two different numbers. The delta was very low, so they were close to each other. And basically, you're looking at, for doing all of this project, plus the silo, plus replacing the water lines that run up to this, $4.7 million.
Well, could it be possible, just like we used to do in schools, seems like the schools get all of their alternates up front now, but could it be that we leave this as an alternate and maybe after it's completed, go back and do it? Is the cost going to be quite a bit more for them to remobilize, to go back out and do it, or?
No, we had that conversation. It would be simply that you would need to make, if it really is the intent to go back and add it at a later point, there is some electrical component that you would need to add underneath the ground, which is no different than what we do in a lot of locations. Probably the biggest thing is making sure structurally and space-wise, so that you don't, you make sure that this is where it's gonna go when we're planning it, even though we're not gonna be building it now, so we don't put something else closer, meaning we don't put 27 park benches that are gonna be right next to the silo once you put the silo in.
Well, it might be possible, Mike, that we, when we do our annual, if we have excess funds left over from the previous year, this could be a one-time project and just knock it out to reduce, because we're going to be going out for a bond on this, is that right? For the cost that we know? I mean,
A bond?
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. We got 4.7 we're talking about. We didn't get, but what, a little over $1 million for the,
Right. Oh, the board has already put money into the fund for the replacement. So we currently sit on $4.2 million.
okay.
And we also have an additional $780,000 in water line replacements throughout the park, which this is part of that, is going to be replacing these water lines. So I plan on using those funds, but still, unless instructed otherwise, the silo would be an alternate, because again, with what's happening in the market, both, well, specifically for this project with lumber right now is what has me a little bit concerned. And obviously, we're ways away from bidding this out. So I feel confident right now with where we are with these estimates and where we are in the market, that we will be able to build this. I think there will have to be a decision made on the silo because our budget represents everything. And what's not included in that is all the FF&E or furniture, equipment, finishings, you know, the cameras you're gonna want in the building, obviously, all the types of furniture that goes into it, which it's not a lot of high-end furniture, but still. So there are some other components of that funding that need to be spaced out. So really, it'll be something that the board has to decide after we get the bids in terms of what we're able to do in that. But I think we have I feel very confident in our funding, and Rodney can correct me if I'm wrong. We've looked at this several times. I feel confident in the funding we have moving forward with the design the way it is now.
Right, but does, the money that we've got budgeted now, does that include a contingency? And if so, how much is the contingency?
No contingency. We have about 4.9, and that represents the entire project right there. I will make one comment, we talk about the money we got from the insurance company. There is money coming on the backside of this project with, it's known as the Boole Fund, so all the ordinances improvements that we make, so bringing this building up to code, so things like sprinkler systems and elevators and everything, we do get reimbursed for that from the insurance company. But that comes after the CO and after the building is operating. So that doesn't help us on what we can go ahead and sign off for the GC. I just will tell you, there'll be, you know, a kicker on the backside of this coming back to us.
Yeah, and the design, the total design's not done yet. We're still concept right now, so.
So the feedback you're looking for is how to proceed with the silo, of whether it's an alternate or whether if 5 of us sat here and said, we want the silo. I mean, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what clarification you're looking for.
The clarification, just the feedback on the design, the way that it looks, I'm giving you the estimate numbers and looking for you all to basically say, keep proceeding forward like we have. Because Londa and I have to move forward with the design team and start to get, you know, go into the next phase of it, where it's no longer conceptual like that. They're really trying to find out how we're going to do all that.
Because this is the modern day rendition of the barn. Is that what you were looking for, or do you want to stay with a rustic barn, more rustic than this? And then have we looked at the interior?
There's some
Okay.
different slides of it.
Yeah, so that, I think we're trying to get some direction so Kyle can advise the architects.
Kyle, you said that the windows on this particular drawing, there's less of them?
Yes, that was 100% windows, and I believe we agreed on, at the end, it was about a 60% windows.
Where are they going,
Yeah.
like, are they top missing? bottom?
No, it'll be the sides, and then the top will be blocked out.
Okay.
And a lot of that has to do with where the placement of the silo will be, because obviously I'm not gonna put all the windows and then smack a silo right in front of it.
Right.
So that's kind of gonna ebb and flow, but it will not be the entire wall.
Okay.
So we know that publicly, the silo was important to the majority of the people, or a large number of people. Was that, do you think, aesthetics, or the fact that they had been up in it, and or do you have any insight as to what was driving that?
If Londa wants to talk, she can. It has not been open to the public for some time, but that doesn't mean that those folks weren't in it. But I always took it as it was a wayfinding marker for that's, as you're coming up the hill, that's what you're seeing. That's what I noticed when I drove up there that night when the fire was going on, is because that's what I could see. Londa, you can go ahead and comment.
I think that all of the people that we've spoken with, or that have spoken to us, I should say, talk about the barn and the silo as being the flagship park, and that's the iconic structure there. And the surveys, as well as the in-person meetings that we had back in October, it was overwhelming. Yes, silo, we want the silo, because that is Franklin's Park. That's kind of the image that we got from everyone, or the message.
So as the conversation continues, there's going to be some more questions about what's the interior look like, what are the materials we're using, and those kind of stuff. So there may be some other opportunities to save costs in other areas that would allow you to afford or feel more comfortable with the silo.
My plan is as we go through the DD process, so it's kind of the next phase of the design, I'll come up once again and show you things that'll look a little bit, probably more needled down in terms of how it's gonna look, but the floor layout has been agreed upon, and primarily by the Alps Department in terms of just layout and flow. There are a couple things we're having to iron out, but we're ready to pretty much move forward. And I feel with these numbers that this is the design we should move forward with.
But to answer your question, I like the look of the exterior myself.
I would say the same. I like the appearance of it. I think the silo is important. I think it speaks to the heritage and history of the park. I think that's going to become even more important as we try to engage preservationists to preserve the other portions of Jackson Training School, which is another project we're working on. I think the lighting piece that you discussed is going to become more important as we go forward. And I think that it's important, particularly for people listening to us talk about it, to understand that, you know, we talked about the insurance aspect of it, and that, I mean, that was a terrible, horrible thing that happened to the people of Cabarrus County, and certainly at the hands of a arsonist or a vandal, or as much as we know about how that happened, but we are not replacing that barn. We are building a new facility to serve the people of Cabarrus County, and you know, you can look at these renderings and tell very quickly that this is a building that will perform many functions that our former building would not, and allow for a lot of additional functionality and events. And you know, we've certainly talked a lot in the past about how popular the old structure was, and this is going to offer a lot of additional opportunities. I really like the aspect of a history presentation. If that's in conjunction with the silo, that sounds appealing to me. I'm sure there are probably other ways you could do that, but I like the look of this. I think it's got enough of the style and the essence of what used to be there that people will make that connection, and still, as you mentioned earlier, speak to the heritage of the park and the fact of its history. So I would worry that if we do not put some priority and some emphasis on the complete project, including the silo up front, that would be a hard thing to go back and do. It would be hard to motivate ourselves to go back and do that later on. So those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, I think Kyle and the architects have done a really good job, and Londa as well, a really good job of trying to recreate the barn, but build a modern building on the inside. And then also the silo, while has just been sitting out there now, there would be a nice patio area around there, so you could actually have space for an outdoor event that would bleed into, the event could go inside, outside as well, so it's.
I mean, the old structure did a wonderful job for a very long time, and we would be very pleased if it continued. But you can look at some of these pictures and see the amount of space and the flexibility that adds an entire new dimension to the park and to the uses that will be available for folks. I think y'all have done a great job. I really like it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to the Alps team. They've been heavily involved and provide immediate comments for us. It's really helped us move along.
Londa, but it was Barry and Byron and several others.
Jonathan Poole, yeah. Really, we just get a lot of feedback very quickly, and it makes it a lot easier to move on virtual meetings. So,
It doesn't take long to have those conversations to see and feel how passionate they are about that, the staff that's out there.
Yeah.
And that passion comes from the patrons as well, so.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this topic? Okay,
Thank you.
I hope we've given you what you
Yes, sir. My
desire.
marching orders. Thank you.
Okay, we move now to item G5. We're happy to have David Thrift from Tax Administration to talk with us about a resolution in opposition of a portion of Senate Bill 196. Welcome, David.
Good evening, Commissioners. So I bring to you tonight a resolution. There's a bill currently being considered in the General Assembly. It's Senate Bill 196. Just to give you some overview, this bill addresses changes on a number of statutes that relate to our tax foreclosure process and some tax collection items. The majority of the changes on this bill that are proposed are simply updates to the language. There's not a whole lot to it. Certainly not much of concern from my view, except for one particular section of the bill. That particular section has a statement that would disallow the commissioner's fee when the parcel is redeemed between the time of sale and the confirmation of the sale in a foreclosure case. So what we're talking about here is in the process of a foreclosure, the foreclosure attorney that works for us to do the process goes through the entire process, gets to the point where the auction takes place, the sale takes place, and the taxpayer, the delinquent taxpayer, still has the ability to redeem that property. So they could come in at that point after the sale, before the judge does the final order, and redeem the property. And this bill that's being proposed would not allow our foreclosure attorney to add his fee for service to what the taxpayer is required to pay at that point. The result of that would be the county would be responsible for his fee, and therefore the timely paying taxpayers, the county would ultimately be responsible for paying those. So that's the reason we have an opposition to that portion of the bill. I'll read the resolution unless you have questions first. Excuse me. So Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners resolution in opposition to the portion of Senate Bill 196 that pertains to court-appointed commissioners' fees. Whereas Senate Bill 196 has been introduced in the current session of the North Carolina General Assembly, whereas a portion of the bill pertains to the commissions earned by court-appointed commissioners in tax foreclosures conducted on behalf of local governments under North Carolina General Statute, Section 105-374I. Whereas persons and firms appointed in this capacity must complete many tasks and advance much expense, including but not limited to advertising, posting, and listing the property for sale, which includes for most firms that conduct the service updating the firm website with sale information. Conducting the public sale at the courthouse, which includes auctioning the property, collecting deposits, issuing receipts, filing the report of sale, providing information to interested bidders regarding the remaining process, monitoring the sale through the upset bid period, processing upset bids, which includes receiving the upset bids from the clerk's office, mailing a copy of the upset bid to all parties in the action, refunding deposits made at the public sale, collecting the balance of the sales proceeds from the highest bidder after the upset bid period is expired, drawing legal documents including the commissioner's deed, the motion to confirm the sale, the order to confirm the sale, the account to the clerk of court as to the funds received and dispersed, attending the hearing on the motion to confirm the sale, recording the commissioner's deed, and transmitting every document filed with the clerk to every party involved in the foreclosure action, including all lien holders and owners of record. Whereas these services are substantial, valuable, essential to the foreclosure process, and have historically been delivered at no charge, except for the commission provided by the statute. Whereas the cost for these services under North Carolina General Statute, Section 105-374I, as currently enacted, are paid out of the sales proceeds. But if a party wishes to redeem a property from foreclosure and avoid its transfer to a new owner, the redeeming party pays the commission and the other cost of the action, along with the delinquent taxes to redeem the property, thereby alleviating the local government and its taxpayers that pay their taxes on time of the burden of the cost to foreclose on delinquent property tax liens. Whereas by disallowing the commissioner's fee, if the property is redeemed between the time of the public auction and the filing of the order of confirmation, the bill reverses the current treatment of these fees by pushing the cost of them to the local government and their taxpayers that pay their taxes on time. Whereas the effect of this bill would be unfair to the taxpayers of local government that pay their taxes on time and will increase the cost to local government, and that these substantial and valuable services are an integral part of the foreclosure process. Now therefore, let it be resolved that the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners does hereby oppose that portion of Senate Bill 196 that pertains to commissions earned by court-appointed commissioners under North Carolina General Statute, Section 105-374, and requests that the pertinent portion of the statute remain as currently enacted. This the 19th day of April, 2021.
Thank you, David. Commissioners, do you have questions for David regarding this? I've one, but the percentage, and nothing exact, but percentage of foreclosures for delinquent taxes out of our overall tax base would be what?
Percentage of the amount that go through the process?
I'm thinking you're talking about like 0.25%.
There's a very small portion of the overall tax base that goes through the entire process. So there's a lot of steps in that process, and there's a larger number that we present to start the process, and that typically
They take care of it.
gets the attention of the taxpayer at that point. So a lot of those properties are paid off. Those delinquent taxes are paid because we've kind of started the process, which is the benefit of having the ability to do that. Then there are those cases in which the property goes through the entire process and we have to foreclose and sell the property. And at that point, the benefit becomes a new owner that therefore is a tax-paying owner of the property. So.
But without asking the question the way I just did, you can say approximately 98% of all of our taxpayers in Cabarrus County pay their taxes on time, right?
That's correct.
And so then that means that there's only 2% that are even late.
Correct.
And then of that group that actually doesn't pay them at all, and it goes to foreclosure, is a very, very, so I certainly agree with what you say on the fairness issue, that all of the 99.75% of people that pay their taxes will be subsidizing
Correct.
the 0.25% that don't. You look like a question, Commissioner Kiger.
I guess I'm full of them tonight. I don't know. I'm on a roll. Well, I'm just in your opinion, was it an oversight in the bill? I mean, it does seem backwards. And so, this stuff doesn't happen by accident usually, typically.
I don't know I haven't heard the actual reasoning from the sponsor of the bill. I don't know what that is. It's possible, there's kind of two possibilities. One is that from our foreclosure attorney, the concept would be that the intent may have been to do the opposite and require that commission be paid. That would make more sense from our standpoint. The other possibility is that the sponsor who wrote this bill had some insight from advocates of people that go through the process and trying to avoid them having to have that cost. A possibility, but it's a little misleading because that cost is incurred before that time frame takes place. So the cost takes place. Someone's got to cover that, and that becomes the responsibility of the county if it's not done then. So.
And you hit the nail on the head when you say responsibility of the county. Well,
Right.
That's the taxpayer of the county.
Which
That's
then is
everybody.
the taxpayers,
Yes.
yeah.
So thank you for pointing that out as a reminder.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, well, at this time, I would entertain a motion What would be your pleasure, Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, we move now to reports, and at this time, we would like to receive updates from commission members who serve as liaisons to municipalities or on various boards or committees. Does anyone have anything tonight?
I do. I've gone to, well, I was with the Youth Commission, and I have a member here. At the last meeting, they're still doing their Talk About It Tuesdays, where they talk about mental health issues. And then they had a very good discussion with the Cabarrus Health Alliance in their last virtual meeting with Marisol discussing mental health impacts of students currently in our schools. So it was a very good back and forth conversation amongst the CHA staff and the students that were on the call. And then on top of that, I was out in Midland, and they are still working on their Veterans Park. They are also waiting to hear back from City of Concord on the Highway 2427 sewer project, and they did announce they are doing their 4th of July celebration this year.
Great. Thank you. Okay, any other reports? Okay, I will now open the floor for general comments by board members. I would like we've talked about it a couple times before, but certainly a big emphasis in our community is on vaccinations for the COVID-19 virus. Our folks at the Cabarrus Health Alliance, as well as folks at Atrium Health, in addition to many community volunteers that have been involved in that process, have been working hard on the project. The Cabarrus Arena and Events Center has been one of the primary locations. They are now making available vaccines at various private drugstores, so it's becoming a lot easier to do. I personally have had both of my vaccinations. I experienced no ill effects from either of those. I would encourage other people to take advantage of that. We have a weekly call with the Health Alliance, and they reported at our call this morning that this past Friday they had 350 appointments that remained open last week that people did not take advantage of. And so they could have vaccinated 350 more people this past Friday than actually showed up at the clinic. The folks at Atrium also said that at their walk-up vaccination at Panthers Stadium in Charlotte this past weekend, they also had excess capacity. So anybody that has had a difficult time getting an appointment, that problem no longer exists. They have the vaccines available. They have the appointment times available. You can go online, excuse me, at the Cabarrus Health Alliance website, and they have good information about all the clinics that are offered, and they're offered in various areas all around the county. Barbara Scotia College was the site of one clinic this past week. There have been a number of others. Excuse me. I think there will be some at some of the area high schools. West Cabarrus High School, the new high school on Weddington Road. There are some clinics scheduled there. So there are lots of opportunities. So I would strongly encourage people to take advantage of those opportunities. It's our hospitalization numbers here in Cabarrus County have increased over the past week to a level higher than we have seen in a number of weeks. So some of the relaxed attitude of some folks is landing a lot of people in the hospital. The numbers had gotten very low. Now they've crept back up. So we still have not tackled this problem yet. Anybody else have general comments? Laney, we are so glad to have you with us, and would offer you an invitation if you have anything you'd like to say. You're very welcome. We're delighted for you to be here. Okay, if there are no other comments, we do have need of a closed session tonight. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss matters relating to pending litigation, economic development, and acquisition of real property as authorized by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.1 A, 3, 4, and 5.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. We are now in closed session. Good night to our television audience, and we certainly appreciate all of you joining with us.